The biggest mistake you can make thinking like everyone else. Most people react, they complain, they chase things that don't matter, but the ones who step back, observe, and move strategically, those are the ones who win. The world rewards those who think, not those who react. Which one are music? You look around, the world isn't ruled by the strongest, it's ruled by those who think without emotion, the ones who strip away hesitation and fear, and make decisions with absolute clarity. But most people, they're prisoners of their own feelings. Fear makes them hesitate, anger makes them reckless, attachment blinds them from reality, ego makes them overplay their hand. And because of that, they make weak decisions ruled by impulses instead of logic, controlled instead of in control. But you're not most people. You're about to train your mind to operate on a higher level, a level where emotions no longer dictate your actions, you dictate them, where hesitation dies, clarity sharpens, and every move you make is cold, calculated, and unstoppable. If you're in a hurry, go ahead and skip this video. But if you want to rewire your mind for absolute control, watch this to the very end. The cold calculation hack is your instant switch to strategy mode, removing emotion, sharpening decisions, and keeping you always one step ahead. There's a formula for this, a simple set of principles that allow you to navigate life like a chess board, always staying ahead. If you want to be among the few who see the game for what it really is, watch till the end. Each step is designed to unlock a new layer of control, and missing even one could mean staying stuck like everyone else. So, if you're ready to stop playing by their rules and start setting your own, let's get into it. Emotions are powerful, but they are also temporary. Studies show that most intense emotions, whether anger, excitement, fear, or frustration, last only 10 to 15 minutes at their peak. Yet in that short span, people make impulsive decisions. They later regret, they send reckless messages, destroy relationships, lose negotiations, and reveal their weaknesses to those who can exploit them. But those who understand power know one thing: control over emotions is control over outcomes. The difference between the weak and the strong is not the absence of emotions. It's the ability to pause and think before acting. How to apply the emotional delay rule: 1. Create space before reacting. The moment you feel a strong emotion, whether anger, excitement, or fear, resist the urge to react immediately. Instead, give yourself at least 10 minutes before responding. If possible, wait longer, especially in high-stakes situations. 2. Detach emotion from facts. Write down exactly what happened, but do so objectively, as if you were an outsider observing the event. This forces your brain to shift from emotional thinking, impulsive, to logical thinking, strategic. 3. Ask the cold, calculated question: if I had no emotions right now, what would be the smartest decision? By stripping away feelings, you gain clarity and see the situation for what it really is, rather than what your emotions are making it seem. 4. Observe how others react impulsively. Pay attention to how most people let their emotions control them. Notice how they lash out, expose their weaknesses, or make rash decisions in the heat of the moment. Every time you remain calm, while others lose control, you increase your power over them. Why this rule makes you instantly more powerful. While others let emotions dictate their actions, you become the person who chooses their response with precision. This gives you an advantage in conflicts because you don't react emotionally. You make the right moves instead of falling into traps. Control over your reputation. You won't say things in anger that you'll later regret. Better decision-making skills. Since your choices are based on logic, not impulse, you avoid costly mistakes. The emotional delay rule is simple but powerful. Every second you pause before reacting is a second you gain control, not just over yourself, but over the situation, and often over the people around you. While others sabotage themselves with impulsive reactions, you'll move like a master strategist, always one step ahead. Most people make decisions based on emotions: fear, excitement, doubt, or overconfidence. They say things like, I feel like this won't work, or this seems like a good idea. But feelings are unreliable. They change based on mood, stress, or external influence. High-level thinkers don't trust emotions, they trust data, probabilities, and logical analysis. They don't say, I feel like this is risky. They say, there's a 70% chance this fails based on past data. They don't rely on instinct alone. They ask, what do the numbers say? When you start thinking in cold, measurable facts, your decisions become sharper, your predictions become more accurate. and you gain an edge over those ruled by emotion. How to apply the think in numbers rule 1: replace feelings with facts when making decisions. Catch yourself using emotional language like "I feel like" and reframe with data-based reasoning. Instead of "this feels risky." Ask what's the actual failure rate instead of "I think this will work." Ask what past data supports this. Quantifying everything forces you to think rationally, not emotionally. 2. Ask, what do the numbers say before making any decision? Check for quantifiable evidence. Business decisions should be based on market trends, case studies, and competitor performance. Investments should be analyzed for risk to reward ratios and historical success rates. Personal choices should be researched based on similar situations and their outcomes instead of relying on instinct alone. The best thinkers don't guess, they study patterns, probabilities, and proven results. 3. Break down risk logically. Fear exaggerates risk, data clarifies it. Instead of fearing uncertainty, analyze risk in percentages. Ask yourself, what's the worst case scenario, and how likely is it? Weigh potential losses against potential gains. If the reward outweighs the risk, it's a smart move. Instead of making fear-based decisions, train yourself to think in calculated probabilities. Why this rule gives you an unfair advantage. Most people react emotionally. They hesitate when they should act, take risks when they should wait, and make decisions based on gut feelings rather than logic. But once you start thinking in numbers, not feelings, you gain an instant edge. You will make smarter business moves by evaluating risk. Like a strategist, you will avoid emotional traps that lead others into bad deals and poor decisions. You will predict outcomes better because, as you analyze real patterns, not just hunches, you will gain a reputation for sharp thinking. While others struggle with uncertainty, the world rewards those who think logically, calculate risk accurately, and make decisions based on data, not emotion. Start thinking in numbers, and you'll stay ahead of 99% of people who rely on feelings alone. When giving advice to a friend, you see their situation clearly. USB at their mistakes, recognize their blind spots, and instantly know what they should do. But when it comes to your own life, emotions cloud your judgment. Suddenly, what was obvious for someone else becomes complicated for you. The powerful solve this problem by using the third-person view, a mental shift that allows you to detach from personal bias and analyze situations as if they belong to someone else. By stepping outside of yourself, you strip away emotion and see decisions objectively, logically, and with pure strategic clarity. How to apply the third-person view. 1. Imagine you're a chess grandmaster, studying the board. Picture your life like a chess game. The best players don't get emotional over every move. They analyze the board, predict patterns, and think multiple steps ahead. See your situation as an outsider would. Instead of reacting emotionally, ask yourself, what are the possible moves? Which option gives me the greatest long-term advantage? If this were a chess game, what's the smartest play? When you remove emotion and focus purely on strategy, you start thinking like a master tactician. 2. Detach from personal bias. Think in pure logic. Your emotions distort reality. They make small problems seem bigger, risks seem scarier, and decisions seem more complicated than they really are. Instead of acting based on how you feel, analyze situations based on advantage versus risk. Which option benefits you the most with the least downside, long-term impact? What choice will put you in the strongest position later? What an outsider would see if someone else looked at this situation. What would they say is the obvious best move? The key is to remove your ego and treat yourself like you would a friend asking for advice. 3. Ask, if this wasn't my problem, what's the smartest move? Your emotions create attachment, which blinds you to reality. But when it's someone else's issue, solutions feel simple. Train yourself to think, if I were advising a friend, what would I tell them to do? If a strategist had to handle this, how would they approach it? If I had no emotions about this, what would be the logical decision? The more you step outside yourself, the clearer everything becomes. Why this rule makes you a more powerful thinker. While most people are trapped in their own emotions, struggling to make decisions objectively, you will be operating on a higher level, analyzing situations with pure logic, clarity, and control. You'll make better decisions because you remove personal bias. You'll avoid impulsive mistakes that come from emotional reactions. You'll stay ahead in conflicts and negotiations because you think tactically, not emotionally. You'll gain a psychological edge over people who let feelings control their choices. The world belongs to those who can see reality, as it is not as their emotions painted. Master the third-person view, and you'll start making decisions like a strategist, not a victim. Fear is the ultimate weakness. It makes you hesitate, second-guess yourself, and avoid risks that could change your life. It blinds you, traps you in an action, and makes you easy to control. But here's the truth: fear only has power if you let it remain undefined. The mind exaggerates danger when it's uncertain. But the moment you define the worst-case scenario, fear loses its grip. You realize that most risks aren't life-threatening, and most failures aren't permanent. Instead of being paralyzed by fear, you learn to prepare for it, neutralize it, and move forward with complete confidence. How to apply the worst-case scenario. Hack 1. Ask what's the absolute worst that could happen. Your brain fears the unknown, so force yourself to confront it head-on. If you're afraid of failing a business venture, define what failure would actually look like. If you're scared of making a bold move, identify the absolute worst outcome. If you're hesitating on a decision, write down the worst possible result in detail. Most of the time, once you describe the worst-case scenario clearly, you realize it's not as catastrophic as your emotions made it seem. To ask, can I survive that? Fear becomes irrational when you assume the worst will destroy you, but in 99% of cases, you can survive and rebuild. If you lost all your money, could you recover? If you embarrassed yourself publicly, would it actually ruin your life? If you failed completely, would it truly be permanent? Once you see that even the worst-case scenario is survivable, fear loses its power. 3. Instead of fearing failure, prepare for it. High-level thinkers don't ignore risk, they calculate it, plan for it, and minimize it. Ask yourself, if the worst does happen, how would I handle it? Create backup plans, financial cushions, or safety nets before taking action. Once you know you can survive the worst, you can move forward without hesitation. Why this hack makes you unstoppable. While others freeze in fear, you will move forward with clarity and confidence. You will take calculated risks. While they remain stuck in doubt, you will embrace failure as part of success. While they avoid challenges altogether, you will be unshakable, because nothing can surprise or overwhelm you. Fear only controls those who refuse to define it. The moment you face the worst-case scenario, you take away its power. That's when you become unstoppable, becoming a master of cold calculation. Now, let's apply these hacks to real-world dominance, business, and negotiation. Never react emotionally. The moment you show desperation, anger, or excitement, you give away your position. Before making a move, analyze the numbers, delay your response, and think at least 3 steps ahead. Silence and patience will break most opponents before you even speak. Debates and arguments while others get emotional. Stay composed. The more someone loses control, the more they expose their weaknesses. Let them talk, let them reveal their insecurities, let them prove your point for you. The one who controls their emotions controls the conversation. Tough decisions. Emotion makes choices complicated. Strip away all feelings and ask, if I had no fear, what would I do? Fear distorts reality. When you remove it, the best option becomes obvious. Make decisions based on logic, not hesitation. The strongest moves often feel uncomfortable, but they lead to real power. Social and relationships. Observe how emotions manipulate people. See how fear, insecurity, and excitement drive their actions. But never let those same emotions control you. Stay unreadable, stay untouchable. Make your moves based on strategy, not impulse. You now have the tools to think while others react. Stay calm, while they crumble, and strike with cold precision. If you're ready to master this, like, subscribe, and comment below. What's the biggest emotion that holds people back? The world belongs to those who think without emotion. See you in the next one.